Everything you've been taught about the discovery of America is a lie. Forget 1492, forget the ships, the maps, and the European explorers. The real story begins in the dark, during a time when humans shouldn't have even survived. Imagine stepping onto a continent where the Canadian border is a 2-mile-high wall of solid ice. A world ruled by 4-ton sloths, armored beasts the size of cars, and bears that could outrun a horse. This wasn't America, it was an alien planet. For decades, science said humans arrived 13,000 years ago. But then, we found the footprints. Children's tracks frozen in ancient mud, dated to 23,000 years. How did they get past the ice? And more importantly, what happened to the monsters they hunted? From a frozen land bridge to the edge of the universe. This is the untold saga of the ultimate explorers, and the secret genetic code that links the past directly to our future. The story of American exploration. Open any history textbook, and you will find one name permanently stamped next to the discovery of America. Christopher Columbus, 1492. Or maybe you'll read about Amerigo Vespucci, the famous Italian navigator who realized this wasn't Asia, but an entirely new world, and ended up getting the whole continent named after himself. But let's be entirely honest with ourselves for a moment. How can you discover a land where tens of millions of people were already living, building massive cities, trading, and farming? The truth is, Columbus and Vespucci were incredibly late to the party. Even the Vikings, led by Leif Erikson, beat them by nearly 500 years when they landed in Canada around the year 1000. But here is the real kicker. None of them were the first. So, who actually discovered America? If your answer is the Native Americans, you are technically right. But that answer hides a mind-bending biological paradox. Because scientifically, even the Native Americans were travelers from somewhere else. Think about it. What does it actually mean to be native to a place? From a strict biological and evolutionary standpoint, no human being is native to anywhere on Earth, except for East Africa. Around 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens evolved in Africa. Every single human population outside of that continent, whether they live in India, China, Germany, or Australia, is the descendant of ancient travelers who packed up their lives and walked out of Africa tens of thousands of years ago. By the logic that migrating makes you a foreigner, nobody on Earth is truly native to their current country. But historically and legally, the definition changes. You are recognized as native or indigenous if your ancestors were the very first human beings to find an entirely empty, uninhabited geographical region, settle it, and develop their distinct culture, language, and identity there over thousands of years. And that is exactly what the ancestors of Native Americans did. When they arrived, there were no cities to conquer, no other tribes to fight. There was absolutely no one. But why did it take humans so long to get there? To understand that, we have to look at what America looked like 25,000 years ago. It didn't look like a new world. It looked like an alien planet. This was the absolute peak of the last ice age. Modern-day Canada didn't even exist. Instead, it was buried under a brutal, staggering wall of solid ice 2 miles high. And south of that massive ice wall lay out a wild, untamed paradise dominated by giants. This was the land of the megafauna. Giant creatures that had evolved in total isolation for millions of years without ever seeing a single human hunter. Imagine walking into a forest and seeing a Columbian mammoth, towering over 13 feet tall, using its colossal curved tusks to clear snow from the grass, or giant ground sloths. Not the tiny ones that hang upside down in trees today, but 4-ton monsters standing 20 feet tall on their hind legs. Heavily armored creatures called glyptodons roamed the plains, growing to the size of a Volkswagen Beetle car, complete with a terrifying spiked club on their tails for defense. And the predators? They were straight out of a nightmare. The top of the food chain belonged to the short-faced bear, the largest mammalian carnivore to ever walk the earth, standing 12 feet tall and capable of running at horse-like speeds. There were hyper-carnivorous dire wolves hunting in massive, coordinated packs, and saber-toothed cats with 7-inch knife-like teeth built to puncture the thick hides of baby mammoths. It was a roaring, dangerous, hyper-predatory world. And it was completely devoid of human life. So, how on earth did primitive humans break into this locked fortress? They didn't build massive ships and they didn't have maps. They discovered America by complete accident, simply because they were following their dinner. During the height of the Ice Age, so much of the Earth's water was frozen into those massive glaciers that global sea levels dropped drastically. As the oceans fell, a massive 1,500-kilometer-wide stretch of dry land emerged between Siberia and Alaska, a lost world known as Beringia. This wasn't just a narrow bridge, it was a vast, wind-swept grassland tundra. Herds of mammoths, bison, and caribou migrated onto this land to graze. And right behind them, tracking their every move, came small groups of nomadic Siberian human hunters. Completely unaware, they were crossing into a whole new hemisphere. But here is where the story gets fascinating. Genetic data shows these humans didn't just walk across overnight. Trapped by the massive ice walls blocking their way into Canada, these travelers actually settled and lived on this land bridge for up to 9,000 years. Cut off from the rest of the world, their DNA mutated, forming completely unique genetic lineages found nowhere else on Earth except in indigenous Americans today. And when the ice barrier finally began to crack and open up, these populations spread across North and South America with astonishing speed. Some walked through a narrow inland valley that emerged between the melting ice sheets, while others used small skin boats to fish their way down the Pacific coastline, rapidly populating the continent along a route scientists call the Kelp Highway. For nearly a century, mainstream science stubbornly insisted that humans arrived in America only 13,000 years ago. They called this the Clovis First theory. But just a few years ago, a groundbreaking discovery rocked the scientific world to its core. At White Sands National Park in New Mexico, archaeologists uncovered thousands of fossilized human footprints pressed into the mud of an ancient lakebed. And these weren't just random tracks. They showed the footprints of teenagers and children running and walking alongside now extinct giant ground sloths and mammoths. It was a normal, mundane day of ancient human life, frozen in stone. Skeptics tried to argue that the dates must be wrong, but scientists used advanced radiocarbon dating on ancient plant seeds and fossilized pollen trapped directly inside the footprint layers. The result? Those tracks are firmly dated to between 21,000 and 23,000 years old. This single discovery blew the old timeline apart, proving that humans had breached the ice walls and were living in America during the absolute harshest, coldest peak of the Ice Age. When you look back at this incredible saga, it changes how you see history. The true discovery of America wasn't a European ship anchoring in the Caribbean in 1492. It was an ancient family of nomadic hunters, braving sub-zero temperatures, stepping off a frozen land bridge into a roaring world of monsters and giants tens of thousands of years ago. And this reveals something fundamental about who we are as a species. Humans are, at our very core, explorers. We are driven by a profound, unyielding curiosity to see what is beyond the next hill, across the next ocean, or past the next wall of ice. If those ancient travelers had looked at the 2-mile-high glaciers of Canada and said, "It's too dangerous, let's turn back," the America we know today, with all its grand history, rich cultures, architectural marvels, and scientific advancements, would simply not exist. Every great leap in human civilization has happened because someone chose to explore the unknown. Thousands of years ago, that unknown was a dark, untested path along a coastline of ice. Today, that endless horizon has changed. We are building rockets to establish footprints on the Moon and Mars, and we are engineering deep-sea submersibles to map the pitch-black depths of our own oceans. We haven't changed at all. We are still those same nomadic travelers from Beringia, standing at the very edge of the map, looking out into the dark, and deciding to take the next step anyway. These are my thoughts over here. When we look at this entire picture, a profound realization hits us. We, as humans, are not truly native to any single piece of land. We are, and always have been, travelers, explorers, hunters, and traders. Even if our biological roots trace back to Africa, we are just passing through. The true, rightful natives of this planet are the ones who have been here for millions of years before us. The ancient trees, the wild animals, and the birds flying around us, they are the true natives of Mother Earth. Yet, we spend our short time here fighting among ourselves, divided by borders, trapped in conflicts, and blinded by racism. Instead of tearing each other apart, we need to come together collectively. We need to unite to protect what is actually native to this planet, nature, and Mother Earth itself. Thank you. If you want to keep exploring the deep mysteries of our world together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell me, what other hidden chapters of America's history should we uncover in our next video?